Hello and welcome everyone to the Seal of Insight, our third episode, coming after the set of Chinese regionals. I think this is the last one of Spirit Forge for China, so we're kind of wrapping up the Chinese season, and it's actually just the start of the West. So this will be a really nice, really interesting episode where we get to talk about how the meta progressed in China and then how it looks to be forming up in the West. So I'm joined here today by my co-host Aaron. How are you doing, Aaron?
Fantastic. I am looking forward to Vegas and playing some Riftbound. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you have a ticket, right?
I do. I was one of the few. I was on the waitlist too. I got very lucky.
Oh my gosh, you are lucky. And here I am. I
Yeah.
I really wish I would have actually got a spectator pass at this point. And in the
Yeah.
moment I was very frustrated and I was like, I don't want to go spectate. But now I just want to go play. So
Yeah.
whatever. So is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
look.
just try and last minute get in. There was definitely empty seats in Houston.
Yeah, just like fly there and say, hey, you guys got any? uh,
Yeah. Any free tickets out there? Like there's probably scalpers out like at football games. You just walk outside. They've got some of the online tickets just for sale. Like you can make it happen.
that would be funny, wouldn't it? Well, I don't think I have the balls for that, unfortunately. But this actually does kind of segue us nicely into our first topic for the day. And actually, I'll give a little preview. So we're going to start with the state of games. So Riot posted a blog post and it had all sorts of really good information. So we're going to start with that. Then we're going to talk about some of the rule changes that they made. So the February rule update. Then we're going to talk about some ruling controversies that happened in the, I'm going to butcher this, Dalian, the Chinese regional that we did our predictions on. And we're going to do guess the flavor text. And then we're going to go back, circle back, look at our predictions for that regional. Were we right? Were we wrong? Who is the winner there? And we're going to review these last two Chinese regionals of the season, see where things have gone, and then finally talk a little bit about Bologna and what we're going to expect. So, jumping right into the first topic. So, let me pull this up. Okay. So, we have a blog post from Riot for the state of the game. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. They talked about products, they talked about teasing stuff. I mean, they said that set 3 and set 5 are going to have some really big new stuff. So looking forward to that, but not really what we're here to talk about today. We're talking more about the competitive stuff. And I think the most interesting thing that they talked about is the discussion on banning cards and what they're going to do for when stuff gets overpowered, when the community gets upset, and specifically this ties right into the kind of Draven meta that we've been having and how Riot's going to deal with it. And to sum it up, there's like a fair bit here, but they said they're not going to errata cards. So anybody who's unfamiliar, errata means actually change the text on a card to make it more fair or make a card do what it's intended. And they have done erratas in the past, but it's only to clarify things. It's not actual behavioral changes. And they're not going to change the rules. We talked about that for like a whole episode, right? Like the whole
Yeah.
will they fix the Draven thing by just changing the rules of combat? And the last thing they said is that they will only do bans, but banning is very rarely going to happen. So you and me come from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And we do
Yeah.
bans in Yu-Gi-Oh. So how would you feel that Yu-Gi-Oh handles like the issue of overpowered cards compared to do you think banning is the right way to go about things?
Yes, there's definitely a time and a place. A discussion that I've heard from a different outlet was they were like the first ban is always the hardest. So like whenever you're a game designer and you're like, oh, like we've tried to make everything as balanced as possible. We went through all this hard work and like that first ban of like I was giving an example of like the purple Ezreal card or whatever, like the Draven leader for two examples. Like those are very two strong cards, very I'm not gonna say overtuned, but like very, very powerful, a lot of representation and top cuts.
Mm-hmm.
So like that first ban of like we put a lot of work into this, like, oh, like is this really something we need to do? Um can't feel good, right? Like you're like, oh, that means like we probably made a mistake by doing this. We had an oversight of some point, so it feels bad. But I definitely think that the power level of the game from set 1 to set 2 is drastically different. If this is what their intent is, then cool. But it does feel like it's definitely a little overtuned. Like even in the grand scheme of like, oh yeah, we want set two to be more powerful. Like the gold mechanic and making like rebuke as strong as it is with that. Like there's definitely some key things you can point to that are concerning that they're not going to be a little bit more invasive early on. Like I would definitely like it would feel bad as like a designer. Like also before this set the set two was even released in the West, you have to have a ban. So
Hmm.
I kind of get it from their perspective. You're like, oh, like we put a lot of work in. We haven't even seen like a full thing. You want to give yourselves the benefit of the doubt that oh, like we didn't oversee anything, but like if the same kind of results happen in the West where Draven is as popular and as dominant, then I think at that point they'll have to be like, okay, we may have to step in and before set three or like after the first couple sets, set two regionals, we'll probably have to insert some kind of ban.
Yeah, and I think the community perception is actually an interesting topic as well, is how the community kind of perceives these like a ban list. And it seems like something that, at least from what I've seen in other games like One Piece, where people, I would say the majority of players didn't really want a ban list because it feels like it devalues your cards. It makes you kind of worried about the stuff you own, and you're like, well, if they're gonna start banning stuff, what? Maybe they'll start pushing product and stuff. They're not gonna actually use it for like the right way. But at least in Yu-Gi-Oh, it feels like it kind of develops more towards a people looking forward to the ban list. They see the ban list as like fixing perceived mistakes in the game or
Mhm.
balancing the game. And maybe that's not the right way to look at it, but that does feel like what it is in some of these communities. People go, okay, this is a problem. I'm really looking forward to the ban list so they can fix the problem. And then it's like a
Yeah,
mini rotation almost. Because there
yeah.
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say like the way that Yu-Gi-Oh does it effectively is a rotation. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the newer cards take advantage of super old cards and like okay, this combination of cards like as you'll color shots say they came out in sets two and four. Oh, this combination of cards is too powerful as is. We need to either remove one of them or limit or like however you'd like to do it. So that's kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh approaches their ban lists. And just like you said, effectively rotates it just to make sure things are new and fresh and don't like take too much of an advantage of combinations of cards that you didn't game design at least in Yu-Gi-Oh's stance, like if a card came out 10 years ago, it's really difficult to look at the future implications of it 8 or 10 years down the line. So in
Mm-hmm.
Riftbound, hopefully they're able to be a little bit more careful with that game design because in this article they talk about, oh, we've been designing stuff up until 2027 already. Like we've already finished this year's product release. So hopefully they're very aware of some of this internal, and through internal testing, like what these combinations can do because it definitely feels like they're having some oversights, like based off of some of their early articles, like oh Annie and E aren't that big of a deal, and oh
Mm-hmm.
Azir and whatever are such good decks. Like obviously, like they have power and in the right environments they can succeed, but overall, I would be a little concerned that if those are their takeaways, then they may be missing something.
Yeah, and something that has I've seen some discussion on specifically with this is the upcoming infinite combo that we're getting. And I don't know
Yeah,
if you saw this, but essentially, for anybody who is unaware, in set four, once we get opposing colored leaders, there will be a order chaos combo. And I'll pull the cards over just so if you're not aware of what these cards are. Essentially, what happens is you have this Renata champion, and the Renata champion says your tokens in are ready. And then you have the Stealthy Pursuer, so a card that is seeing literally zero play, which is funny how these things always work. We're well aware of
yeah,
how this goes from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Where
yeah.
it's always
Not a
the
problem until it is.
yeah. So this card says when a friendly unit moves from my location, I may be moved with it. So essentially, even if it's rested, you can still move it. And the final piece of the puzzle is the Eye of the Herald. And so this card, when when the unit moves, you play a recruit token here. And so this is pretty easy to see how this all comes together. You play out the Renata, you play out the Stealthy Pursuer, and then you play out the Eye of the Herald. And once this Stealthy Pursuer has moved a single time, and it can be with a fight or flight, it can be a manual move, it can be pretty much anything, then it plays a ready token because of the Renata at its new location, and then you can move that token to a location of your choice. And then when you move the token, she triggers, let you move with her, and then it creates another token, and you can essentially create across two locations infinite tokens. So we'll have to
Yeah,
see how these things go, and if Riot decides that a ban list is the right way to handle this, but maybe it'll end up just not even being like a realistic thing because it's like a 3-card combo. Sure, with Renata,
Yeah.
it does become a.
Mm.
Sorry, you can't play it with Renata because you need a Chaos Order deck, so it'll only work in one specific deck. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, so
Yeah,
ban
unless
list.
there's a Renata leader for that.
True.
It's not a like and in Riftbound, I mean, so obviously within
Mm-hmm.
purple, like there is Call Shot Ezreal and like
Mm-hmm.
Stack Deck, right? Like so you can't like if there is like a really ignorant combo to be in a deck, that is the most accessible color combination just because of it having purple. So that's something I would definitely be mindful of. And if they see that in set 4 and down the line, like this combination of cards makes these things more accessible and possible, like I think they should, especially considering, like you said, like we've talked about public perception. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a decent chance that we're already starting to be a little bit concerned about how the game is headed. And like, if you preemptively, like, we'll say ban Cold Shot or whatever, Purple Edge, or like however you
Yeah.
want to look at it, like, you're less likely to deal with that kind of a loop later down the line as well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure this exists. I'm not super familiar with the depths of the rules, but there does need to be something in the rules regarding infinite loops and how the game handles them. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Mhm.
for instance, you just have to demonstrate that the loop is infinite and it does change the game state in some way. And if it does, then you can just say, I'm doing the loop X number of times. And you don't actually have to perform it. So I'm sure,
Hopefully, we never come to that in this game. In a
yes.
mana-based game, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Insane. But, anyways, okay. So rule changes, we'll see what they end up doing. If there's anything even worth banning, because as the title of this episode implies, things have changed a little bit in the metagame. So moving on to the next thing that was discussed in the state of the game, as again there are a few interesting topics here, is the best of cards. So this is going to matter a lot for people going to events, as the best of cards are honestly the best prizing you can get at the events right now, opposed from obviously winning the regional. But winning a regional is one out of thousands of people, whereas the best ofs, as we've seen with the Chinese regionals, for the bottom leaders, it can literally be like a 1 in 2 or a 1 in 3.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the West will chase them, but we can talk about that a little bit in the discussion at the end. But they have confirmed that the best of champion cards are only going to be available for the first 3 sets of the champion. So let's say you really want to get a Garen metal card, right? So Garen came out. Technically, it was Improving Grounds, but it is part of that Origins set, the Origins like period, and thus it will be a metal card for Origins, which we've already done, which we only had one tournament for Houston. So there's Origins and Spirit Forged, and then I am missing the name of it, but there's a third set. Do you know the name of the third set?
I don't remember
Okay,
right at the
so
moment.
you will have 3 sets worth of regionals to win the metal card. So there will probably be, actually, we know how many there will be because we actually have the roadmap there. So it'll be like
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe. I
I don't
don't
remember
know
what
when
set
the
four is. I think
cutoff
it's sometime
is.
in August, maybe.
So are these all set? These aren't all set too, right?
No, 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 no. This is the
Yeah.
rest of the year's roadmap.
Okay. Well, set 4 comes out somewhere here. So maybe there will be like 10, maybe like 12, maybe 13 Garen metal cards. So there is like an idea of the hard limit on it. So
Mhm.
we'll see what this does to the market, because right now they're insane and they did slowly drop, but I think some of the people still haven't even been able to sell theirs, though whether that's because their expectations are a little bit too high or whatnot. um yeah, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, I think it's a good idea.
I mean, in general, just more communication is better. So
Mhm.
if you are lucky enough to have a best of currently, you now have an understanding that this is probably one of, I'd say at most a 10 of in the West. Probably even less, probably like closer to like 6, 7, or 8 under the current amount of events. And we'll talk a little bit more about how many events there are. But it
Mhm.
seems like there's going to be a really strong number. Obviously, it's worldwide and they're covering a lot of their bases in terms of where they're visiting. So it looks good. Again, more communication is better. So now, if you are fortunate to get a best of, you now have an understanding. Okay, this is like a 1 of 8 in the world. I can expect this number of dollars for it, or if now, okay, it's only one of 8 of, I would like to keep it collected for personal memories, like however you want to view it.
Yeah.
Like, but again, sport communication is better, so I can never really complain about these types of game stuff because this is something that I'm not used to in some of my card games. So it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it's like night and day from Yu-Gi-Oh, where Konami gives very cryptic messages sometimes. I mean, we were
Yeah,
super excited over the Genesis communication, which was just like a couple paragraphs. Like,
yeah,
so. But anyway, so yep, best of cards. They have a cap on them now. Good to know. It would have been a bit silly, to be honest, if there had been, if you were able to get best ofs for the entire legality period, because near the end there are just 100 leaders, and at that point, like, it's like you're throwing your dart at a dartboard of which leader will have one person playing it, and to
mhm,
get your free metal card, and then also the price of them would just plummet as well. So anyways, the next thing here that was a bit interesting is the simultaneous release, and this is not really an update, it's just a confirmation of what we've heard in the past, that they are planning on having a synced release for set 4, which is going to be really exciting. I've never actually played a TCG where we've gotten simultaneous releases. It's almost always East gets first. In Yu-Gi-Oh, we sometimes get cards like years behind. Um,
yeah.
like there is a
And then we have like TCG exclusives, which are
mhm,
West specific, and then eventually the East gets them. So
yeah.
it'll be nice that there's no, as far as we're know, like no promos that are going to be different across the regions. It'll just be the entire card pool will be the exact same starting in set 4. And obviously, as new languages get involved, I think they said that it'll take some time to like catch them up. But like West and East, like English and Chinese will all be at the like the forefront and like the most updated, which will be very interesting to see everyone brewing at the same time.
Yeah, it's really exciting, right? Because one of the most fun parts about card games is the discovery period when you're trying to
Mhm.
figure out what's good. And I will say, I don't think Riftbound is solved by any means. Like, we've already seen that where Draven, like, again, we'll talk about this later, but Draven was 60% of top cut and then has slowly been dropping. But the exploration part is super cool because you get to kind of show your skill in deck building, find cool synergies, and it sucks in the West when we're just sitting there watching the East get to play with all these new things, and we're just like, oh yeah, that's the best deck, isn't it? Okay, so definitely will be exciting when we get to actually participate in that. Um,
Yeah.
but so yep, that does seem to still be on track, which is excellent. The last kind of little notable thing, and it's not really super notable, is that they still are kind of on the same page about not having a digital client, or at least not currently planning on making one. And I, for one, and this might be a little bit controversial, do like the lack of a digital client. It does promote a in-person community, and it does seem that a lot of people uh, it has created a community where I know people in the local community, and a lot of people are still going to events. And I've found that at least some of my friends, when there are the digital avenues for playing, is people will just sit at home and grind the ladder, and that's like not necessarily a bad thing if you want to get better. And I think it's not a bad thing to exist, but there are downsides to it. So, what do you have any opinions on digital client? We might have talked about this before, but
I mean, I am an online grinder
okay.
generally, so I would definitely prefer. Like, I've been grinding,
Hmm.
like I said, the Rift and Runes or ladder. Like, I do that a fair bit. So I would definitely prefer to have that option. Part of the problem is like availability of cards. Like, I still don't own a Riftbound deck. I could buy it on TCG Player, but like, if I go to locals, like, I'm not going to win any packs for it. I'm just going to maybe get Nexus Knight for entry. So if I wanted to try and build a second deck or just like win some amount of prizing for going to locals, like that's just not an option at the moment. So and then also like the Nexus, not the Nexus, sorry, we did have this discussion, but whatever the invite events, whatever those are called, um, those
Skirmishes.
are, yeah, skirmishes. Thank you. They are not as competitive as I had initially hoped.
Yep.
So like if I'm like someone who's competitive and trying to succeed and prepare for events, those are effectively locals to me, and I'm not going to reach a high level of competition. So playing online with people who are also invested in similar ELO rating or whatever, I think is going to be more beneficial to my time, especially when I'm not able to win any amount of product for my time investment. So
Yeah.
I understand you're like I do enjoy like all of my testing online is to play in in-person tournaments. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like only play online. Even if there were like online events, I would still play in person. It's the most fun of TCGs for me is going to travel and competing in person and getting to be in that environment. Like I'm still going to the YCS, the 300th YCS next week. Like it's
Yeah.
my favorite part of playing all card games. So that's not changing for me.
Yep.
But if there isn't more accessibility to cards and like I would just prefer to have the online island. It also helps with onboarding as like new players,
Hmm.
especially with Ride sponsored. So that would be another argument for it on their side. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. Doesn't sound like it's in the works, but like there's third party um, companies that have done those types of simulations and done well. Like the One Piece one is done by a programmer, and his is fantastic. Like he updates it personally. I don't know what he gets out of it, but like he does it as a passion project, and it's like the official quote unquote based off of community perception because of how updated it is and how efficient it is. So
Hmm.
we'll kind of see if Riot follows suit and is like, okay, whatever it was Pixelborn or Raven or what it was called, but like they can go and do that for them, or if they end up trying to do it for themselves
Yeah.
at some
And
point.
this is like a little side note, but I don't know if you saw that in the Spirit Forge Nexus Knight packs, there isn't even like a GG Easy Teemo equivalent. So there's no value in
Oh,
them,
really?
which is
Hmm.
insane to me. Like, I think uh, the existence of the GG Easy Teemo was like one of the only reasons to actually try and get Nexus Knight packs. And now you're just like,
The runes were nice as well, but yeah, now that there's more copies of
yeah,
runes available in different
um,
sets, like it's just going to be less of an exclusive thing.
yeah, there's just nothing in them, which is, I mean, they're cool to have, but when you're competitive, you to drive a competitive atmosphere, there needs to be some sort of prizing. Unfortunately or unfortunately, there needs to be something for people to strive for. But, anyways, so next topic, we went a little bit long there, is just taking a glance, is little quick glance at the schedule. So we did have the roadmap announced. And as you can see, we have a lot of events planned out, which is good. I was a little bit worried for a bit when the only opportunity it seemed like I was going to get to play Spirit Forge was Las Vegas. But I'm fairly sure Atlanta should be Spirit Forged, right?
It will be.
Yeah. Okay. So there still is a chance. Um, I mean, definitely good to see all these events planned out. I mean, there's some pretty good ones here. I mean, Singapore would be very cool. I can only speak for myself. I've never been to that area, so that would be very cool. Though I'm sure very expensive. Um, but uh, but yeah,
I mean,
cool.
it's nice they're going worldwide. It's all
Mm-hmm.
a different, like a wide variety. Like in the U.S., it's West Coast, East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
Northeast. We had Houston for the worst one, obviously. Vancouver is a really nice area. I love going there. And then if you're international, like Sydney, and then there's multiple countries in Europe, so they're doing good. We'll see if they expand into Latin America or other areas in
Yep.
Asia, but right now it's like definitely a strong start. And for a brand new TCG to have what's that, 5 events I think in the U.S., maybe six. 5 events in the US and was this like 3 or 4 in Europe? Like that's as many as some card games get over the course of their lifetime. So this is a strong pace to be at from the get go.
Yep, for sure. Really hope things continue and they are able to make their registration structure a little bit better. But we will have to see. So, yep, on to the next topic. This is a bit of a fun one. You could say that. So, for anybody who did watch the Chinese regionals these last couple weeks, there were some ruling controversies. And it comes with every card game. Every card game has them. Judges are not perfect. And I just want a disclaimer that the start of this discussion is not intending to flame any judges, call any judges out. It's just to kind of discuss what happened, maybe if the procedures could have been done better, and the results of what were the consequences of this. So the first one, which I think was the one that got a little bit more publicity, is the dubbed Freebuke. I saw some pretty funny pictures on in Discord of people changing the cost of rebuke to 0 and such. But for anybody who's unaware of what happened, I don't have a clip, and that's probably something I should do in the future is find clips of these. But what happened is a Draven and a Jax were playing. Was in top 16. You
Yeah.
remember? So yeah, Draven and Jax in top 16, and Jax obviously a fan favorite. People want to see the underdog deck to win. Everyone wants, well, most people want Draven to lose. And the Draven player makes a turn where I believe he plays, it is a Mind Splitter and then a Rebuke, and then I think there's one other card, right? A Spinning Axe, I think.
Sounds right, yeah.
And only having 9 runes up during this. So the cost for the Rebuke was not paid. It was not caught by the judges. And this play is what led to the Draven winning the match. And so we do have a statement here on what ended up happening. And yes, it was top 16. So this is translated. So thank you for Riftbound Report for translating this. But the player was retroactively given a round loss, which is crazy to me, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, when this sort of thing happens, you might get disqualified, you might get banned from the game if they think it was malicious, but I have never before seen the results of previous rounds changed.
Yeah, that's something that's brand new to me in any TCG that I've heard of.
Mhm.
Like people, like you said, being retroactively punished. I've heard that in like the Pokemon TCG.
Mhm.
But I've never heard of like the actual results of a match being finished. Like, you want to compare it to professional sports, like if the referee after the game is like, "Oh, we made a mistake," like sucks to suck. Like I don't know what to do. Like you just got dealt with it. But like in this situation, it's very interesting to see that they're like, "Oh, this is an error. It's our fault. Let's like actually fix it." I've heard like pricing being like taken back from people. Like, "Oh, the guy got top 8. He shouldn't have." So like you just take all his pricing away. But this is very different. Where the guy who into top 16 like lost and is now being awarded top 8 pricing. Obviously, he doesn't get to play for the win, but it's like a small consolation that's in that situation. So it's obviously not the best result, but it's definitely better than what I've heard in a lot of situations.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly, I'm not super upset by this way of handling things. It does make it feel. It definitely doesn't feel free for cheaters. That ridiculous way of saying things, but you are punished beyond just like, oh yeah, you can't play anymore. It's like, and I don't know if this guy was intentional or not, so I'm not saying he deserves to be banned or anything. Could have been an honest mistake. There's a lot of pressure on the stream, but I do like the idea of kind of giving back to the person who lost. And maybe it's a slippery slope, maybe it's not, but it is a something I'm behind, and it is good that it at least was acknowledged. And I like that they put out a statement as well, because it was a pretty high profile turn of events. Like, I mean, there are all the free Buke memes and stuff that came out of this. So let's see. I wonder if there are any funny pictures in the comments. Yeah, so there was this was the funny thing on stream is he held up the Rebuke after the game, and
Okay,
people
that at that point that just seems malicious. Like if you like kind of do it immediately, like you knew what the hell you were doing.
yeah, yeah. But I guess I don't think they've made an announcement if the player has gotten punished beyond the tournament. But there was a Chinese announcement. I do not speak or read, so unfortunately I cannot. I'm just gonna assume that this translation is correct. So. But anyway, so that was the first of the two. There are actually two. And the second one is interesting, as it was a Western player who had traveled to China to kind of test their skills, get early stab at the Spirit Forge metagame. And they played Sivir, and they actually did really well. I believe they got top 4. Does that sound right?
The top 4 is where the ruling issue happened.
Yeah. So in a top 4 match, they had an issue where the Sivir player played a Rasa from their trash, and when you do play Rasa from the trash, it does not count itself as a card, because during the playing process, it is not technically in the trash. I mean, it like moves out and then moves in. I don't know, but it does not count itself towards the 10 cards the cards that reduce the cost. Randy did not know this, or maybe made a mistake in the moment, and essentially played the Rasa for the wrong cost. And what happened is the judges said that, okay, you have to correct the cost, but you're not allowed to change where you play the card. And the controversy is that if the card had been allowed to be played in a different location, then according to Randy, at least, that they would have won the game. And I didn't actually see this one live, so I don't have any say in that. Did you see this one at all?
I watched like some
Hmm.
reviews of it after the fact, and it was pretty clear that if he was able to change it, the game was almost locked. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, there's like some things that can change, but it was pretty like that 100% lost him the game if the other action did not win him the game.
Okay. And so the controversy is where exactly should the game be rewinded to, right? Is it before the
Hmm.
obviously at this point you've tried to play the unit, so does it go back before you tried to play the unit and you get a warning because you paid the cost wrong? Do you just go back to where the cost was paid? Do you go back to where the like location was chosen? And I've seen some conflicting statements about the like the order and where you're actually allowed to go back to. I've heard some people say that you pick the location and then you pay the cost in that order. So at that point, the cost or the location has already been chosen. Personally, I think that it should be rewound like entirely. Like you shouldn't, if you make a play mistake like this, I think that it should go back to like he should be able to choose a new location, pay the cost correctly, etc. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so this one, it's kind of just whatever the letter
Mm-hmm.
of the law says. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, intuitively and like kind of how a gameplay goes, usually it is you pay mana, or like that's how I do it. It's like I pay mana and then I like play my card. That is, I like obviously people may just like play
Mm-hmm.
card and then pay mana. So it's kind of whatever. Like I said, this is pretty much just like whatever the law says. From my understanding, this is kind of not what the rules are supposed to say. I am actually the worst person at rulings in Riftbound. I have a similar reputation in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I just don't understand how these rules work a lot of the time. So whatever the rules say is what should be abided by. From my understanding, and this is just all third party. Like I haven't dug into the rules myself. This was, and in general, when this type of thing happens, I usually give the benefit of the doubt. Just like, okay, like you go to the last like legal action that took place, and the legal action was like whatever, like activating rights. Like you shouldn't be able to like change your target for Rasa or whatever. Like you chose Rasa, but like from there, like from my understanding, you move the unit and then you pay the cost, and then I thought you picked the location. If it is you move the unit, you place it, and then you pay the cost, then I guess I could see it that way. Obviously, Randy being from the West, he speaks I think French and English, um, and from his communication after the fact, like I don't think many people spoke English there, so that is unfortunately something that you're going to have to deal with. Is if you're in a different region, like if you can't speak the language, you kind of have to be at the mercy of sign language and communication in that way. So it's unfortunate to hear. Like, I obviously wish that wasn't how the whole tournament played out for him. But if that is actually how the rule goes, then unfortunate. It sounds like his opponent was just kind of like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. Like, he's not trying to shark anybody. So it feels like everyone did what they were supposed to do. Whether or not the judges handled the ruling correctly is kind of beside the point, but the procedure of how it all took place sounds like it went as well as it could have. So that's just like, okay, did the judge staff handle it correctly? If yes, cool. If not, okay, let's make sure judge staff is aware of all the rules in these types of situations moving forward. And I don't know if there's some way to like retroactively do anything because like nothing illegal was done. It was just like a judge actually made an incorrect play compared to like a player making an illegal action. So you can't really retroactively like award him anything in that situation. So if that is what happened, then unfortunately the staff kind of cost him the tournament, and that's unfortunate. But everyone else involved kind of handled it the best they could have, from my understanding.
Mm-hmm. And there was actually a comment here by Randy saying that his opponent like actually didn't say anything, and it was entirely
Yeah.
by the table judge and then escalating and stuff, which is a little bit interesting because generally, or at least in other card games, it does feel like the table judges are more there just to, they're not actually there to like catch stuff. At least in Yu-Gi-Oh, that is how it feels, that they're there to look pretty for the stream and then keep like the game state, and not even keep the game state, it's like keep the processes going rather
Yeah, and
than
yeah, so in Yu-Gi-Oh,
mm-hmm,
they're very like your zones need to be placed like this and
mm-hmm,
whatever. And Riftbound, it seems like like they're on top of a lot of things, like procedurally, it seems like, but it definitely does feel like in those spots, like there have been like cost pays incorrectly and stuff like that. So they're on top of it for like the important things of like making sure cards resolve correctly, but it feels like some of that stuff can get lost in the hand movements of it all. So
Yeah.
that's not ideal. But it's kind of just how they want to run everything. So
Yep.
it's whatever works for them, I suppose.
Yep. But unfortunately, he did end up losing the judge call and lost that match. But top four is nothing to scoff at, and it was with Silver, which is really cool. So I think we will
Yeah.
take a glance at that list when we do go through the tournaments. So, yeah, a couple ruling disputes. I don't think there's anything too insane, but yeah, some interesting stuff to talk about. So, on to our next segment. So, now it is time for Guess the Flavor Text. And as a reminder, how this works is one of us, in this case, it'll be me this week. I pick a card, I give Aaron the flavor text, and then he is able to, has to guess what card it is. And he has 3 lifelines. There is the color of the card, there's the type of the card, so unit, gear, or spell. I think that's all of them. And then the cost, and you either get to ask the energy or the power. And you start with 4 points, and every lifeline you use, it goes down 1 point. And we have both failed. We're both at 0 points. So we'll see if Aaron can score the first point here today. So I'm giving you an easy one. So if you don't get this one, I'm gonna laugh at you. So
As you should.
the text of this one, or the flavor text, is, even in death, I cannot lay down my axe.
This sounds like Darius or Draven in the immediate.
Okay. You, even in death, I cannot lay down my axe.
Who else would that be? Who else uses an axe? I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Draven's known for spinning axes. Darius has like whatever the hook thing is. Okay, what color is this?
This is a yellow card.
Okay, so it's not Draven. Fuck. So it could be yellow Darius. I know there's a 5-cost Darius because I played that in Victor at one point.
Mm-hmm.
God dang it, I'm so bad at this. Even in death, cannot lay down my axe. This feel like it's not like Yi or whatever. God dang it.
Yeah, Yi's
Alright,
got
let
an
me go for
axe,
yellow.
maybe.
Granada, Victor. What's the other blue yellow? Granada, Victor. What's the Lux?
Yep.
And then yellow green is Azir.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the set one. There's Yi. There's Garen. Sets. All right. What's the power or not the energy cost of the unit?
It is 6 energy.
Okay, I'm pretty confident this is a 6-cost yellow Darius. So I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, so final answer.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever.
All right, you got it. So it's the Darius
Oh, thank God.
Executioner. So let me pull that up. So yeah, this is the
Oh,
Darius Executioner, and he's got this cool new art as well. Where's the
that's
original art?
the overnumber from set 3, right?
Yes.
Or set 2, sorry.
Oh, this is actually interesting. I didn't even realize this. So if you look at this, they have different flavor text on the
nice.
different art. So
oh, all of them do, right?
Oh, that's funny. No, so you got it wrong. You got it wrong. It was
yeah, you thought it was the set 1 Darius Executioner, not the set 2 one. Oh, that'd be so disgusting.
That's really funny. I guess I can see it because he looks like a demon here, right? He's got the horn and
yeah, it's like a signature. That doesn't even look like any art that I've seen from League of Legends. Like it's like exclusive to this game. That's neat.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to them doing more of this, more like original art. So looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Soraka and Vayne have some sick over numbers, so we'll kind of see what the market for those look like. But just like having more high rarity stuff is neat.
Speak of the devil. Wait, can I?
Yeah.
This was one of my pulls.
It's Soraka, right?
Yeah, it's not the signature one, so it's also just not played in anything, so it's definitely not gonna be worth much. But it is a pretty looking card, so.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's all you need.
For sure. So Aaron does score the first point. So Aaron is up now 2-0, as I have now I am still not on the scoreboard, so hopefully next week I will be able to take the lead. All right, so
You probably will.
I think there are a lot of options that pick like really obscure stuff. So we'll see. We'll
I mean, I
see.
picked whatever Rat Pack or whatever the guy is from last week, and you were close. You just didn't remember the actual name of the card.
Yeah, I failed miserably. But so on to our next segment. We are going to talk about our predictions from the last episode, and we were making predictions for the Dalian Chinese regional. I am mispronouncing this, I'm sure, but the predictions were, and here I will pull up the regional results because we can just go right into talking about them afterwards. But our predictions were, so the first prediction, what was the highest non-Draven? And we actually both failed this one, but I was close. So Aaron's prediction was Aurelia getting second, which the highest Aurelia was 7th place.
7th. Yeah.
And my prediction was the highest non-Draven would be Ezreal at 3rd place. And Ezreal got 2nd, so close. Still no cigar, as Kaisa did end up winning the event, but close. The next prediction was the number of Dravens in top 8. And so Aaron predicted 5, and I predicted like 6.
And we're both awful.
I mean,
this was just like the weekend where Draven fell off, and the one that happened like this weekend that we're recording, the weekend of the 8th of February. That one also had a very big fall off, so we'll kind of get into why that may have happened.
Yeah, it's actually crazy to me that Draven performed so. I'm not gonna say it performed poorly, but it definitely did fall off a little bit. So
I mean, it's definitely lowered the representation both in initial entrance and top cut.
Yeah.
So before we get in this conversation, I want to just be like, I want to make sure people are aware of the size of all these events. So these are around 510 person events.
Yep.
And when you get to the West, it'll be like 1,500, if not more. So that will be definitely a big discrepancy when you look at like the medal leaders as well. Like when you see there's only 3 people entering to like with a Garen or whatever, an Annie in these early sets, that's going to be very different from the West where we have triple the number of entrants and what percentage of those are playing for battle cards versus trying to win a tournament. It's going to definitely shake up a lot of that stuff. So I very highly doubt that there's going to be any zero cost or zero leaders entering in any Western tournament just based on the size alone.
Yep, I would agree. But that is definitely something we will be talking about. That is our last topic for today. And so the last prediction that was made was the most sided card. And there were, I mean, it's hard to tell or to make a accurate guess when you have so many different leaders in the top cut with all these different colors.
It's 7 different leaders, right?
Yeah, something like that. So
that's insane. I never would have guessed that after the first couple of weeks. So I mean, that's a sign that there are plenty of decks that can beat Draven, it seems.
Yep. So Aaron's prediction was Thermo Beam, and my prediction was Thunder Song. And we are both wrong, but I was close.
Yeah, you were second. Springer was second, yeah.
Yeah, Springer had 4 copies sided, and the most sided card was actually Forerunner. So, which is interesting because that card kind of fell off a little bit, right? And now it's kind of resurged again.
It's fantastic into the non-rebuke decks, so it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and like it's got a card that you don't want to get rebuked on game 1, so I know in my Kaisa deck, like it's in the side deck, I'm just like, okay, anytime there's no rebuke in my opponent's deck, I just slap 3 of that card in, and good luck outing whatever 12 might worth of units over the course of a couple turns.
Yeah, so this is a good segue into just looking at the list. So obviously, as you can see, we had Kaisa winning this event, and this is something I don't want to kind of like toot our own horns, but this is something we did. I feel like we kind of had some inklings of that this would happen, at least some point, that Kaisa is better than people were giving it credit for, and it has potentially a good matchup into the Draven deck. As we even saw with the Draven decks, the way to beat the Draven mirror was you'd start siding, or you'd start playing some of these removal cards like Falling Star. And well, if you're gonna play Falling Star to beat the Draven deck, why are we not just playing Kaisa and then playing Falling Stars and Singularities and Reigns and all these cards that just say like you can never stick a unit? And very clearly it worked, seeing as we had Kaisa did win this event.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, and we'll get into why. I mean, people may swap to Annie for that reason later on, but yeah, I think Kais is a very good leader. You get to kind of like ramp one a turn because you're playing all these power spells that or spells that cost power, and you're just gonna be able, like you said, Falling Star. You got Piercing Light, which is a duplicate Falling Star against the Draven deck specifically. Not as great against every other meta matchup, but this was the event where I think Draven still was like a pretty solid representation. So Piercing Light was going to overperform in that regard. And the one adaptation that we've seen a lot of these lists play is Progress Day, which is where obviously like you play like the Lecturing Yordle and the Watchful Sentry, just like cheap units that draw you cards. But having that top end spell that refills your removal afterwards, I think is something like initially I was playing Premonition. Progress Day, I think, is maybe a little bit better just because a lot of removal is pretty cheap and you're able to pay the power for free. So it's really neat to see that almost become a staple now that we've gotten a little bit further into the meta. Like Progress Day and a lot of these Kaisa decks, like the list that top 8 the week before this one, also played Progress Day just to like make sure you have enough removal to draw in your deck. So it's a really interesting way to see the deck. Now it's just like a cheap unit deck and you're just going to blow everything up.
yeah, and I have PTSD from this Progress Day card as I played in the 25K CCS event last weekend, and I started off great. I was, I believe, 5-1, and it was 8 rounds of Swiss. So all I had to do was win a single match from my last 2 rounds. And the last round of day one, I managed to lose the dice roll in the Kaisamir and Brick. So that was a pretty clean 2-0. I lost, and then the last round of the event, round 8. I played another Kaisamir, and he was playing a crazy Kaisa deck with triple Progress Day. He was playing Get Excited, no Darius in the deck, and it felt like it was pretty good into the Kaisamir because there's a point where every single unit you play gets removed, and then he just has a turn off and he says, okay, Progress Day, and you just lose the game at that point. So
Mhm.
unfortunately, we did get a draw in that one, and I got 29th place, but enough about me. So that was the Kaisa list. This was also pretty cool. We saw an Ezreal get second place, and it is in fact the rat Ezreal with the pit crew. This deck is really cool. We saw it before. I mean, I'm a huge fan of it. I think that it plays really well into the Draven decks, as you can play entire matches without giving any draws to Draven. You just never leave stuff on the battlefields. I mean, I think it's pretty similar to the one from the before. I mean, maxing out on Ezreal now though. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, not a ton to say. Cool deck.
I
And
like that. The Ornn on this side, I think we've discussed before. I think it's a
yeah,
check to Kaisa. And then Mind Splitter helps with some of the control decks. So I think this deck, if you're able to see all the combo pieces consistently, I think is a really interesting choice. And like he has like the time warp to cheese out some wins. Like this is a deck that has a lot of options. I think it's not fantastic into like the backline snipe decks like Kaisa where you're playing Falling Stars. So it's definitely something to be mindful of. But like you have Mind Splitter and you have Pit Crew to like make sure you're getting units on board and deal with some of the control matchups. So it's very interesting deck. I'm curious to see how it transfers to the list.
yeah, I think it honestly does really poorly into the Kaisa deck. You were actually playing on ladder, and we were talking about this, and I was like,
Mhm.
can this deck even beat Kaisa? If Kaisa doesn't low roll, it feels like it can't, but maybe there is.
Ironically, the way that that deck wins is by being the aggressor.
Yeah.
Like in that match, like Kai'Sa has so much removal that eventually you will just clear all of their units.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're able to be aggressive with Pit Crew and just like conquer all of the points before you can remove all their units, and that's how they would win that matchup.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And then, well, we actually have a lot of lists that we can look at today, so we'll go a little bit quicker. But so Draven, and this is a little bit different. I mean, we have the Mind Splitter in the main deck, and then one in the side deck. The 3 spinning axe, no long swords, maining the against the odds, which I actually like if you're expecting these removal decks because it is a reaction speed buff spell.
Mhm.
Um, Legion Rearguard is in this list.
Yeah, the one adjustment that I think Dravens should take notice of is the number of Kaisas in these lists. And this will kind of get into, I think, why Annie succeeded is because whenever you're playing Draven and everyone's just planning on sniping all of your guys, like this deck plays a lot of Legion Rearguard, a lot of Kai'Sa, so that way, like your backline getting sniped doesn't actually matter because you're still conquering points, you're still drawing cards. So I think that is a big selling point. Like this red purple color combination has so much to it, so that's maybe how you're able to take advantage of this is playing a little bit slow over game, and you've got the Mind Splitter, and you obviously have like the Kai'Sa that you can make happen. So, and I think this list doesn't play the 2-drop
Yeah,
Treasure Hunter,
no Treasure
and that's
Hunter.
probably why it just yeah, like you're just scared of that card getting sniped very quickly. So at least with leading rearguard, you're able to get that conquer down beforehand. So
Yeah,
it's
triple
interesting
Darius.
adjustments to that meta.
Triple Darius, double Kaisa. That's 3 rear guard. That's a lot of accelerate. So,
Not accelerate,
yep.
and this list is maining Forerunner for that same reason, right? Like obviously it's not
Hmm.
great in the mirror, but if there's less mirror, there's more removal. Forerunner is fantastic for that.
Yep, for sure. And then, yeah, oop, I skipped
You were
the
oh,
Sivir. So obviously this is Randy, who we did talk about the Sivir list, and it was Miracle Sivir, though it was opting to play some cool orange cards, triple sabotage, a couple confronts, and a couple challenges. I do like challenge. This card is backline removal, which is like we just talked about, typically good versus
very
the
important.
Draven decks.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, looks like a solid deck. I have not played with this, but it is
looks like a
cool.
miracle deck. Yeah,
The treasure trove is really cool in Sivir, as it does act as a way to proc your leader ability that replaces itself, and you don't
mm.
have to actually deramp for it. So very cool. Down well on the side, card's
No
cool
clue
as
how.
well.
Yeah, I don't know how good that card is. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably not that bad, but I have yet to see that card be utilized efficiently
Mm-hmm.
in like a consistent way.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that card ever got used on stream or whatever, but I'm waiting for the situation where I watch down one and I'm like, yeah, that card won you the game.
Yeah. Notably, oh, never mind. That was it. So there is the Sivir deck. Did do well, and we did see that on stream, of course. And the Fiora deck, this is back to the Hook
Faded Hook,
Fiora.
right? Yeah.
So maybe I don't quite remember, but this looks very similar to the one from the last time. So,
Yeah, a lot of similarities.
mm-hmm.
It just still seems crazy to me to not have salvage at some number in your main deck. That card just seems very
Yeah.
impressive. Obviously, ever post, so that helps with checking some spells, but being able to do it for
Mm-hmm.
one less mana and being proactive, I think, is nice as well. So
Yep.
I think that's the only recommendation I'd make is to have that card in the main somewhere. But otherwise, the list is interesting. I need to play against it more just to get an understanding of it, but it definitely seems to be better than we initially thought.
So another Draven list. This one looking a little bit different. We have Double Mind Splitter in the main deck. We have the Piercing Lights in the main deck, and this one is playing Vi and Treasure Hunter. So definitely different. And the side deck, just double Thunder
Yeah,
Song, triple Forerunner. He was prepared for Kaisa.
yeah, I mean that seems to be how the Draven list looks is like
Yeah.
whatever combination of 5 to 6 drop units you have in your main, and then your side deck just kind of swaps whatever you have left, and like you max out some of them between main and side, and then you're just like, okay, I'm playing against the mirror match. I want all the Bryn Here's and Darius's, and against Kai'Sa, I want all the Forerunners or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it is like you said, you
And
had.
yeah, 3 Kai'Sas. I think that's an adjustment that is very good. Like that's something that Dravens need to take notice of. If the meta is
Mm-hmm.
all removal, like having a Kai'Sa that gets you one, and then if it is lucky enough to swing over, you're getting like that two draw, like that is game like very game defining in those slow matchups.
Yeah, this is another adjustment here that also plays well into the removal decks is playing Vi Ride the win again, which is something we saw fall
Yeah.
off, but it is quite notoriously good into stuff like Kaisa because you just win the game if you get the 6 points because Kaisa has
Hmm.
no real answer for Vi Ride the Wind and playing 3 Ride the Wind, so and 3 Rebuke as well. This is a
Yeah.
very heavy spell lineup
I'm
here.
somewhat curious. I haven't seen the Miracle Draven deck perform much at all, but that may be another way to beat some of these removal decks is you just go too wide too quickly and
Mm-hmm.
they're not able to keep up. Like similar to how the Victor deck kind of struggles if you go too wide and don't give them the chance to use their early mana. So I'm curious if we see more of the Miracle deck in the West as an adjustment.
It does seem like a West deck to me, like very
That's fair. Yeah.
comboing and but we'll see. And then we had the Aurelia. Anything interesting here? Was playing the Siren. Uh,
Less two drops than what we've seen. The deckhands seem to be a pretty common staple between the
mm-hmm,
main and the side. Someone's there. But yeah, like the number of two drops is definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. Like that, I've seen success with and without. I'm kind of curious as to why.
mm-hmm.
Like I want to like do more in depth testing as what the two drops kind of add in each specific matchup. Like they're probably good into Draven. That way you're getting those early points, but also like you're risking giving them draws. So that's probably what more sirens are useful for. So there's
Yeah.
benefits to them, but also definitely some downsides.
I do like the triple boots of swiftness. This card has always
The
felt
card is very
pretty
important.
above average in this deck,
Yeah.
especially with
Also three stack
still
deck, which
coming.
is not always in the list. I think that's really
Hmm.
important to see the combo pieces that your deck needs to function.
Yeah, I like this list a fair bit. It seems pretty streamlined,
Yeah.
mostly just good cards.
Yeah.
I mean, the one siren is still a little bit weird, but whatever. Um, choosing
Three charm
to
as well as a backline removal card. So like
yeah,
three stellar corn, like yeah, this is I think a good list to start off with if you're
yep.
looking to play that deck.
Opting to play triple not so fast, one to find the main, side two more to five, so no win walls, no hard bargains. It does feel like a little bit of a toss up on which ones that people play, but don't hate it by any means.
Mm.
Yep, looks good. And then the last one for this regional is the one that did get bumped up. So this is the Jax that we did mention that had the free Buke played against him and was lost in top 16, but was retroactively given the win. So did end up getting top 8. And so this is playing the Aphelios card. I don't even remember what this does. So
It
when you,
has yeah. You're good.
when you here, I'm gonna make this bigger. When you attach an equipment to me, choose one that hasn't been done this turn. Ready 2 runes, channel rune exhausted, or buff a friendly unit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That
I
seems
guess.
neat. But like the one thing that I want to acknowledge that
Mm-hmm.
so this has similar battlefields to some of the set decks, and if you're playing this like bigger kind of equipment based strategy, like these three battlefields of Tree, Hidden Temple, and Monastery, when you've got Warmogs to buff and get draws consistently, like this is how these middling, like we'll say like mid range decks that like kind of want to force combat, kind of play around equipment, like this is how you maintain those that card economies by playing these battlefields. So something to keep a note of if you're playing a deck that may struggle with actually keeping cards in hand. Like those are three battlefields that you can definitely look into.
Yeah, this is a really interesting list to me because to me it doesn't. And this is very uneducated. I've never played this deck. I've only casted it a few times. It's not a super popular deck. It just doesn't look like it does that much, right? Because you only have these
Yeah.
small equipment. Your units aren't huge either. Like you don't have these giant
Mhm.
units. So I guess you're literally just playing this like mid-range game where you're putting efficient units and trying to win that way. And I guess there aren't a lot of power costs either now that I look at it. Like zero of these units have power costs. And
Just
then
the Aphelios, yeah.
yeah, it's literally just a Felios challenge, counter strike, and then the counter spells. So maybe
Yeah, like, I'm surprised there's not a little more top end in this deck to like kind of
mm-hmm,
take advantage of how cheap your early game is. So
mm-hmm,
maybe like Octron was like a really good call for his Swiss, and he played against a lot of gear decks. Like played against some victors and took their
yeah.
like their Vanguard army stuff like that. Like there's probably yeah, it's not a deck that I expect to like perform in the West to a meaningful degree. Like I think it may have like a good run or two at some points, but I think there's a reason why we haven't seen it too much. And I don't think this has the selling points of Kaisa where you have so much removal to clear Draven. Like this is a deck that feels like it wants to play Draven's game where you're like trying to like win combats and even if you're playing like the Emperor's Divide inside decks to and first mates like bring your guys back, like at some point you do have to win combat because you're not playing much removal outside of challenge. So I would definitely be concerned with Draven's gameplay. And obviously you've got Defy and not so fast, but at some point you're gonna run out of those and it's probably going to be difficult to break through.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one. I would not have expected a list to do so well, but very clearly it did. So, all right, and that
This is why
was,
I don't need to side thermo beams. This is why this deck.
I guess. So yeah, this was the last top 8 list from Dalian. So moving on to the regional that actually just finished
This
yesterday,
morning.
this morning.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was an interesting one. Top 8 did look a bit different as well. As you can see, we only had 3 Dravens, so one up from last time, and the event was won by an Annie from our AI clan.
Yeah.
So,
So shout out to this guy. He top aided with Annie. I think it was 2 regionals ago, like the weekend of our last
mhm.
podcast. I'm pretty sure this guy top aided with Annie as well. So this guy's obviously been on a tear with the deck. Very good player. And I think this deck just kind of looks like kind of a Draven deck. And like I said, like so he's doing things like he's kind of playing like the anti. So like the decks that are like anti Draven, this anti deck is designed to like beat the anti Draven decks. You see the Forerunners, you see the Kaisas. Like this deck is trying to maintain card economy. You've got the inverted timelines. I'm kind of surprised to see as much switcheroo as I have. I don't really understand the point of that. Um, like this is a card that I've kind of noticed over the past few lists. Like I don't really understand it when we see so much removal in the format, and it's not really a card you want to play in hand too often just because of the high power cost. So very curious to see what that like how that card performed. But overall, like I said, you get the Kaisas, you get like invert timelines, you have Dreaming Tree to like maintain card economy. You get to sign the Mind Splitters for the slower matchups. So I think it has a lot of tools going for it. Like this red purple color combination is just absurdly powerful. So it doesn't surprise me that it's all success and it's just in a different shell than the Draven.
Yep. So definitely an interesting one. So then the second placed was actually Azir. This one,
Yeah, no one gets this.
yeah,
No one
this
would have
is
guessed this one.
crazy. And this was actually match, the first match of Top Cut that I cast was this Azir deck, and it was this player as well. So, I mean, I think there's only one Azir in top 64. So if you casted it,
I mean, that's a
that
fantastic
would be
run.
it.
Like, I've played against the deck a decent bit. The one thing I'm surprised about is the green Azir leader or champion feels really, really good for me. Like, that card is so difficult to deal with. Maybe there's just too much removal in the format for that card to succeed. But that card always felt like a pain in the ass to deal with whenever I was trying to play against Azir with some of like the quote unquote fair decks. So I guess having the yellow Azir as an accelerate and just being able to like get on board quickly whenever there's so much removal in the format is the preference for right now. But I think keeping an eye on the green Azir unit is definitely something to be aware of. That unit is very strong.
Yep, and there is a main deck salvage. Like you did say, you like this card. I mean, card is good. And the Wind Wall. This is the first Wind Wall I
Yeah,
think we've seen.
anti-thermal beam deck. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, this deck, like, I think it has to play it, or like a rise doesn't function if you don't have gears in place, and that's like your win con in a lot of situations. So
Yeah.
makes sense to me. Obviously, it's like not something you really want to. Leaving up 3 mana consistently is a bit of a pain in the butt, but outside of that, like your deck doesn't do too much proactively in terms of mana. Like you can develop more units over the course of time, but outside of what's that Emperor's Call, the one that's like play 2 units, like outside of that card, like you don't actually have too much you can do turn over turn to like get a wider board. So like
Yep.
just leaving up that 3 to make sure your rise the next turn does stick is probably as good of a play as you can get sometimes.
Yep. Makes sense. So very cool to see this deck perform. I mean, getting second is incredible, especially when you're playing something. And then we have another Draven. Anything interesting? I mean, it looks like a pretty normal Draven list to me.
Two
Guess
spinning X for some reason, but I
yeah.
mean, it's whatever. But yeah,
Yep.
as you'll acknowledge, the 3 Kaisa, like I think that's definitely a trend that they're catching up to. That one is siding invert timelines as well, which is definitely not normal.
Yep. And then another Aurelia. This is looking pretty similar to the one from last week, though. What's different? I see
Plays Tide Turner,
it's pretty similar. Not gonna lie.
only one stack deck, 3 flash, I think, or 2 or 3 flashes
Yeah.
definitely. I
So.
think it makes sense on the Dreaming Tree game. I'm not sure if they're leading it. If I had to guess, they probably are. So
Hmm.
makes some sense. It also helps like Flash's reaction speed, as we know, so you can just like they play a unit, you're like, or play like a stack deck. You're like, all right, Flash, get your guys back. With cards like Cellucorn and Tree, like you're getting a lot of draws and you're
Yep.
also avoiding the combat. So I think
Yep.
that makes a lot of
Makes
sense
sense.
for this deck. Mm.
Yep, Aurelia perform well. I think Aurelia is a bit of a fraud deck, to be honest. For as much as it's represented,
I
it doesn't do anything. Like it. How is it always the second most represented deck, and then it like barely squeaks one player into top cut every time? Or, sorry, top
I
eight.
mean, I think it tops a fair. It's the
Uh,
second most topping deck
yeah,
generally.
that's
Like
true.
this maybe is like this may be an exception, but I think it tops a fair bit.
And then we
This
had
is the Get
nice.
Excited list. This is a different one. Like there was a Get Excited list from a while ago that was playing
Mm-hmm.
3 Progress Day. So this is a little bit similar to that.
Yeah, triple
I think
progress
this deck's
day.
super neat. Like the Get Excited Progress Day deck. I've been playing
Mm-hmm.
this a little bit. I like it a lot. Um, the one thing I don't understand, if someone in comments can let me know, why does everyone play Obelisk and Kaisa? Like, is getting Kaisa down on 4 that important? Because it feels like there's so many decks in the meta that play Obelisk that like you don't really want to give them that advantage of having multiple games with it, just like ramping an extra turn. So
Ooh,
that seems like just something that I don't understand personally. But that assembly
assembly
rig is
rig.
to be Victor. You just get a free mech every turn.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right, and then I believe the last. So there's a Draven and Aurelia. We can just take
Those are the last individual or like
yeah,
unique decks.
take a look.
Yeah,
I
more Mind Splitters.
mean,
That card's cool. Forerunner,
Falling Star
Brynir.
back in the
Nothing
deck.
abnormal. And yeah, Falling Star, which I think
Yep.
is very good. Helps check the Israel matchup.
Yep. And then finally, in Aurelia, probably pretty similar to what we expect. Yep, it looks very similar to the last list. One
Yeah,
flash.
size in Lonely Poros
Yep,
doesn't mean any, so a little more 2 drops. The
yep,
Vex is abnormal, but not
yep,
something I love. I think the Adaptatron's fantastic, so
yep,
pretty
of
normal for
course.
Aurelia to me.
So, yep, that does wrap up our little review of the regionals. Those were, I believe, the last Chinese regionals of their Spirit Forge format, which takes us nicely into our last topic for the day, which is how is the West going to do Spirit Forge, and what do you expect the trends at Bologna to be? And then we're going to do some predictions, but we'll talk a little bit and then we can do our predictions. So we touched on this before, but how do you think the West is going to do with like the best of cards? Because I expect a lot more best of cards, but players playing for best ofs in the West than in China.
I think I agree. Just
Mm-hmm.
based off availability, we just have less events, so I think people are gonna try and just do that a little bit more. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like you could see the argument like, oh, we only have 3 events a year, or like 3 events sorry per set. It's less likely for you to get an opportunity to try and win an event. But I think Riftbound, a lot of these people are new to the game. They may have like their favorite champion. I think this game it kind of is catering to that best of archetype. So it wouldn't surprise me if out of like I think Vegas is 1,500, Bologna I think it's similar size, maybe a little bit bigger. If it's like as much as like a third of the event is like comfortable just entering for a giant or for their best of card pricing. So that may mean that like there's whatever like the bottom 10 champions still take up 300 or 400 slots just due to that. So I'm kind of curious to see if that's how that takes if that pans out. But I don't expect Draven to be. I think part of the issue for Draven in the West early is going to be accessibility. It's only the week before Spinning Axe is pre-selling for like 200s. So if
Insane.
Draven is over 25%, I would be a little bit surprised just due to that alone. I think the Draven deck should be like if everyone is entering the tournament to win, probably closer to 40-45%. But just due to those factors that I mentioned, I kind of expect it to be closer to the 20-25% mark just for
Yeah.
those reasons.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the way that the decks are played is going to be different as well. Traditionally, at least it feels in Yu Gi Oh! I'm not going to say this extends to Riftbound, but at least with my experience in Yu Gi Oh! West, here in the West, we play more aggressively. We have more combo decks. People, at least, again, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is how it is, but it feels like people are a little bit better at TCGs, and because of this, the more complex decks thrive a little bit more. Because generally, and not always the case, but generally more complex generally means higher ceiling, and stuff like the miracle decks, which we saw played for a little bit and then they just disappeared entirely. Like we even saw that the Sivir deck that did well from the Western player Randy was a miracle deck, and it got top four. And they just kind of disappeared from the Chinese players. And whether it's because they didn't think the deck was that good, or they just didn't want to put in the effort, which I admit that's a ridiculous thing to say. It's not that they didn't want to put in the effort, it's that maybe they just didn't see what we see, because I think the miracle decks are really underrepresented. And I mean, Randy went over and got top four with one, so I expect to see a lot more of them here in Bologna.
I mean, Ezreal is not
Mm-hmm.
exactly a miracle deck, but it has a little bit of a similar shell, and that's a deck that
Mm-hmm.
China has kind of gravitated towards, like
Mm-hmm.
not in mass, but I think the Dalian regional had it as like the fourth most represented deck. So I think that's probably how they like. It's still a miracle, but it's not as
Mm-hmm.
combo oriented. It's still a bit more of a control deck. So yeah, but you still have like that the rat moving around.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably how they would lean into it. I'm curious to see if we have, we'll say Draven or an Annie miracle deck
Mm-hmm.
perform well, like Sivir as well. Obviously has that shell, so it wouldn't surprise me if there's more miracle decks in the West than in the East. I'm not sure if that's going to translate to more success or if it's just going to be okay. More people enter with the deck. Obviously, some people are going to top with it.
Yeah.
I the miracle decks are good. They like you said, there's definitely a little bit higher of a skill ceiling. Like there's some sequencing that you have to do correctly. You have to understand how to play on low power or low mana efficiently. So I think it's got potential. I think I do still think there's a reason why the normal Draven decks are performing well. I think they have a decent matchup into the miracle versions. Like the miracle version just kind of like play units and stick there. And if you're playing a Draven deck that can move a guy and swing over the other one, like you're going to be in a pretty favorable position. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the pure Draven deck beating the Miracle Draven deck kind of affects that math, so we'll kind of see
Okay.
if things kind of change over here, or if I'm incorrect in that assumption.
Okay. Do you have any other general thoughts on how the first Spirit Forge tournament will go for the West? Like anything different that you
Um,
expect? Notable?
so I think the product accessibility thing is going to be a big one. It wouldn't surprise me if like there's more Kai'Sa than there is in China. Like obviously it's kind of ramped up towards the end, but if we lead out with we'll say 15% Kai'Sa, it wouldn't surprise me. That's like a set one favorite deck that has a decent Draven matchup and is already owned by a majority of the population. Like that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I think Aurelia is an interesting deck. I don't know what innovation there is still in the deck, but I think the it's definitely, I think we'll say like a noob stomp deck. Like I think you're a lot of people are gonna play incorrectly into it, just not commit correctly into outing the Aurelia and not understand how the deck loses. So I think that's a potential for Aurelia to like perform very well in the early. Like it may have like a decent representation from entrance to top cut, but I think once you get to that top level, like the people are gonna understand how to beat it, and it's not gonna be too overpowered. If there's like a sleeper deck in the West, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like, I think Ezreal was probably one that people may not have thought too much about, but I think the Rat Ezreal deck that China kind of piloted. I'm not sure if the West had any knowledge of it prior, but that's a very interesting innovation that I think the West is going to take advantage of. I think that's a deck that Western players are going to like and play a fair bit. So I think Ezreal is probably going to be a deck that was a little slept on, and we'll see how it
Mm-hmm.
performs over here. But I have high expectations for it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do some predictions. And so these are, again, we're going to kind of try to avoid the super easy categories, like what is the most represented legend, which is almost certainly going to be Draven. Despite what you said, I do agree that the product availability will hurt. I think people are still going to play Draven, though. The top level player product availability is not, I'm not going to say it's not a thing, but it's, if you are really dedicated to being a competitive player, you will find a way to find the cards, whether it's
100%. No,
through,
yeah.
yeah. So,
If you're flying from Europe, you're
mhm.
gonna justify spending the money on Draven, or
Yes.
vice versa. Like,
All right.
so yeah, I think it'll just affect the overall representation. Not like I still think Draven's going to have a strong top eight showing and top
Hmm.
64 showing. However you look at it, like the deck's going to translate very well. Not going to lose any prowess or power. Like the deck is very good. It's just going to be a little bit less accessible to the layman in the early couple weeks for those reasons.
All right. So the first question, this is, I think this is a hard one. What do you think is going to be the least represented legend?
Least represented.
Yeah.
Garen is the easy guess.
I don't think it will
Um,
be.
I mean, I mean, based off what we saw in China, it went from 0 to like 16 or whatever as a result. So I think Lee Sin is not a bad shout. That one's been consistently in like the low like two or threes.
Hmm.
Um, Lux and like Granada Glass have surprisingly been up a little higher as well. So
Hmm.
I don't think those are good shouts. I think it's probably Lee Sin or what else is just like dog water. It's not a blue deck. I'm trying to think of like the color combinations that are bad. Like I would have said orange yellow, but like Fiora and Set have been kind of like we didn't even talk about Set, but Set had 3 in top 64 this past week,
That's
and
true.
which was substantially more than we had seen in the past. So, um, Rek'Sai, what's the red yellow? I think Darius may be pretty low. I'm gonna go with Lee Sin. That's my guess, but I think it wouldn't
Hmm.
surprise me if there's like a Darius or something else
Yeah,
really low.
I'm gonna go with Darius. Like for whatever reason, people just don't like this legend, and admittedly, it's not the most powerful legend, but it's not bad. Like I think it's definitely better than Lee Sin. It's definitely better than like a lot of these really low rep legends, but yeah, people don't like it, sure, which is fair. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
it's.
Leona's a deck that we've kind of
Hmm.
seen has like a decent Dragon matchup, so it's
Hmm.
not like I expect it to be too low. Ari's just like a waifu; she'll always be popular.
Yeah, yeah.
Same for Timo. Like I think like the three good guesses are Volley, Darius, and Lee Sin.
Hmm.
Rumble's also not great, but like he just has a good color combination that alone may
And
just
he's new.
be enough.
People are
But
gonna play him.
that yeah, that too. So I
Yeah.
think Lee Sin's probably one of the better guesses.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, but I think a Lux has made top 64 of the last like two or
It
three
did.
regionals, which is just
Yeah, it also top 4 or 8 at a city challenge.
yeah. Very
It's just
cool.
like the control deck, and instead of Victor, you're just playing Lux,
Yeah.
which like if you're practicing for trying to metal card, I think it makes
Yeah.
sense, right? Like you're just
Yeah.
playing maybe a slightly worse Victor deck,
Mm-hmm.
so it's probably not that
Yeah.
big of a deal.
All right. Next question, and another hard one, at least for me. What is the highest placing Aurora deck? What legend will it be, and what place will it get?
Misfortune, I think, is the best one, just because we've like cold shot stack deck consistency.
Well, Sivir has those as well.
Uh, yeah, it's true. I just think people are leaning more towards the miracle version of Sivir.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also the leader, like the champions for both are kind of the same. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People may just associate misfortune. I think you may be right. It's not E. I think it is definitely orange purple
Mm-hmm.
because of the stack deck
Yeah.
consistency. Okay, I think Sivir, and I think can I do like top 64? Like, is that
Sure.
acceptable?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, yeah, I think a Sivir Aurora will make top 64.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And my guess is going to be MF, and it is going to make top 32. That is my guess. And the reason being is, I mean, we've kind of seen it with a lot of the Chinese lists. Is the gear hate? It's kind of. I'm not gonna say it's all gone, but it's kind of disappeared a little bit.
Definitely
Like,
less than I personally would be doing based off of like obviously Draven is kind of like the rebuke is beating a lot of the gear decks inherently, but I think if like rebuke, let's say, wasn't in the game, like you would have to have gear hate because gears are so efficient, right? Like you just play them once and obviously you're paying power, but like a lot of these leaders cheat out the power that you need for it, like between Orin and whatever. So you're able to get a lot of value off of these gears. So I think Thermo Beam definitely
mm-hmm,
should be in some of these decks. Like Kai'Sa 100% Draven, you can argue, but
for sure, for
definitely a
sure.
card that's worth considering in a lot of lists.
Yeah. So then the last question, and this is going to be a repeat. What is going to be the highest non-Draven, and what will their placing be?
This is Bologna specifically, right?
Yes, Bologna specifically.
Okay. All right, so I can't say myself on whatever I'm going to place. Got it.
You can.
I'm not going to Bologna, so it won't matter.
Oh, okay, okay. True, true.
Hmm. Aurelia was good in the beginning. Does it like why is Aurelia not converting? I need to think on that.
Mm-hmm.
What would we see? We saw Annie, we've seen Kai'Sa, both win events. Aurelia's consistently in the top four. Fiora was in the finals a couple times. I don't think Fiora's going to translate to the West. I don't have a strong reason as to why. I just think the deck is not as good as. I think the beta hook combo is interesting, but again, if there's no thermal beans, that deck may just cook. I don't know.
True. Harness Dragon is kind of nice.
I think the Kai'Sa deck, based off of what I said earlier, where there's like more representation in the West, it's kind of a fan favorite at this point just because of how good it is. Also, hot girl, whatever. I'm gonna guess Kai'Sa top fours.
Okay. Okay.
I
Well,
think I think that's a good guess.
we're on the
I
same
think a Kai'Sa
page.
top four.
I think it's Kai'Sa. I think Kai'Sa's going to win the event, personally.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Like there's not gonna be four Dravens in top four. I don't think, right?
I don't know, but Kai'Sa's going to win the event.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kai'Sa's getting first. That's my guess.
That's
So,
fair. All right, Kai'Sa in top four for me. I'm gonna say Draven Mirror in the finals, and then
okay.
whatever. I'll
All
take that.
right. Well, we have our predictions, and now we just need to wait. And actually, our next episode will be coming right after, or maybe even like the finals might be happening while we do it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, so
Yeah, fair enough.
that does wrap up our episode for the day, and hopefully answers our question: is Draven fraudulent? Which we'll see. But anyways, thank you guys for watching so much, and we will catch you guys on the next episode, which again will be 2 weeks from now. Though, as Spirit Forge does come out in the West, we might move to weekly. We will end up seeing. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.